How do you know?
No, I'm admitting that I'm going to stand up.
Answer it because that's what's happening. They edit your bit.
It's live streaming.
It's live. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you didn't ask people.
You say exactly what you want to say. I don't care.
You didn't ask people, and
I'm asking them right now. Do you guys want
Okay, first of all, you didn't ask people to film. So let's have this clarified. One is they didn't ask people to film. Second, they said that they work for a film that doesn't have any sort of release form to ask people if they're okay with being filmed. Okay, then at the end of the day, then you should have asked. You shouldn't just come in here filming people without their consent. You're in Harlem. You're not from here, and get out of here.
So no one wants to talk. That's the,
Nobody wants to talk. We just want you to leave because you are a nuisance.
So you don't know who I am. You're calling me a fascist.
Actually, we know who you are.
Oh, what's my name?
We already know who you are. Good one.
You guys don't want to talk?
Nobody wants to talk to you. We want you to leave. Have some common decency and leave. You're going in the wrong area. You're in Harlem. Unless you want to get jumped by black people.
So right now they're speaking about somebody who was a victim of police brutality, and I'm not sure exactly what their plan is. We just saw some guys basically get chased out because they were periscoping, and they were told that they didn't have permission to film or anything like that, but as you can see, there's a lot of members of the media here. You can see a lot of cameras. They have NYPD press badges and things like that. So it seems rather selective. They called the guys they kicked out fascists who were periscoping. Not surprising, I guess. All right, march is on. Decent-sized group heading down to Columbia to protest Mike Cernovich. So I guess we'll see what happens, but for now it's pretty tame. A lot of signs, anti-fascist, etc. Decent amount of police in regard to the size of the protest. So what that really means is there's actually a small amount of cops, but the protest isn't that big, so.
Back four! In response to the national outcry. Over this massacre. White nationalists. Mike Cernovich. Tweeted. Spare us. The sanctimony. Cernovich's claims. Of white genocide. Were echoed by Root. Who said during the shooting. That black Americans are raping our women and taking over our country. He is supporting murderers like Dylan Root. Like James Alex Fields Jr. Who murdered someone in Charlottesville. This year. If you believe that this is fucking bullshit. If you believe that Nazi fascist fucking scum should not be allowed on our campuses or anywhere. If you believe that Black Lives Matter, then raise your fist in solidarity.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
So you guys go to school here at Columbia?
Yeah, we do. We're freshmen.
Do you know who's speaking here tonight?
I don't. I've heard it's a white supremacist type speaker. I don't really know.
How do you feel about the protests?
I think that while they're rooted in good principles, while they are trying to accomplish something good, I think that they're being counterproductive. I generally think that this trend of being against free speech on college campuses, shutting speakers down, is giving the right more of an excuse to push their hateful rhetoric. And if you continue to protest instead of setting up debates, instead of setting up counter programs, which is what clubs on Columbia do, then people on the right will just draw more into their rhetoric and you're not going to accomplish anything. Especially when people are making claims like fuck free speech or free speech for who, which is just a complete attack against any liberal principles and is actually against what most of these people believe. So I'm not a fan of the protests. Everyone has a right to protest. I just think that they don't accomplish much, and I think that there could be a lot better stuff done.
I just think that in general we're wasting our energy just on campus. Like, a lot of these people have good ideas and they want to see the campus come together and have a discussion, but every time we do this it becomes harder for people in the Republican Party at Columbia to talk with people who they don't agree with because they feel threatened, or they feel like if they're going to talk to them they're just going to get in trouble. So I just feel like we need to see a way for people who are in the Republican Party at Columbia to come and not go to a meeting and see all these people yelling and saying, don't go in there, like, you're stupid. It's not going to get anywhere.
But isn't it more than that?
Can I add something, if you don't mind?
I mean, isn't it about white genocide? This guy thinks we have a white genocide, quote unquote?
That's horrible. No one likes that, but he has every right to speak. And disrupting that speech and harassing and bullying them is not, it's just not helpful for like general debate in this country. If every time a white supremacist speaks, you say you're wrong, all the people who are on his side are going to be defensive, they're going to withdraw into their opinions, and they're not going to listen to you any
How
less.
do you suggest we deal with that?
I suggest you in a counter program, you invite the speaker after he speaks to college Republicans to come debate, and using more free speech and the power of rhetoric, you convince them why he's wrong.
Promote your ideas rather than your other ideas.
Exactly. Why don't you promote your ideas instead of trying to censor?
So is that what we should have done with Hitler?
I mean, Hitler was actually violently attacking people and using military action to take over. What's this guy doing over here?
You don't find it hypocritical to film us, but to block that guy's camera? Like, that doesn't bother
You
you?
guys are supporting a very dangerous viewpoint.
I think you're supporting a very dangerous viewpoint. We both clearly have opposite opinions, but you're stopping him from getting you. You're also covering half your face.
Can I add something? I'm not at all a conservative. I'm not a white supremacist. I would consider myself a liberal as well. I just think
You don't think liberals are dangerous?
We think that stopping free speech is dangerous. We think that if you take the right from someone to say what they want to say, that's dangerous, no matter what they're saying. And that's just something that...
The practical implications of this are that people aren't going to listen to your message. People aren't going to listen to your message if every time they want to say something.
I know who you are, baby. Don't fuck
Coming to a college campus and talking about rape and saying that date rape doesn't exist is yelling pride.
You know what?
I've known you for years.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Tell me I'm right.
But telling them that, but just shouting at them is not going to do anything. If they're apologizing for rape.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's great. There's these two like short portly types, and they got these signs saying March the Humanist Initiative.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question on camera? Can I ask you a question on camera?
No.
Can I ask you anyway? Do you think it's hypocritical to film people's faces without their permission?
I know exactly who you're fucking are. I'll fucking talk to you.
All right.
I just wanted to say, the school has a policy of being politically neutral. If the college Republicans invite a speaker and the school doesn't let them speak, that is an active political statement that they're making. And so they're not being politically neutral. So them allowing someone to speak is not an endorsement of that speaker, it's just them remaining true to their principles. And that's something that people need to understand.
We want to remind y'all. Senate movement. Center on black and brown lives. On black and brown lives. And black and brown people. And black and brown people. And black and brown voices. And black and brown voices. If you are an ally. If you are an ally. If you are a comrade. If you are a comrade. Who stand in support of those voices. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
Tim Pool, get the fuck out of here!
Okay, I just stopped it because I want to point out a few things. You notice this guy just yelled at me. In the next frame, when I restart the video, you're going to see that the people standing directly in front of me are looking around in confusion because none of them know who I am.
No peace! Don't hang out with Lauren Southern, you piece of shit! You alt-right piece of shit! Get the fuck out of here, you white supremacist neighborhood piece of shit! You know what you did, you know who you are!
Okay, so as you can see, the group in front of me, they're looking behind me. These people don't know who I am. There's one or two people, they actually know who I am. He yells at me, calls me a fascist, and no one knows who he's talking about. But sure enough, this is enough for them to come at me and start harassing me.
Get the fuck out of here, Tim! Don't let him film you! He's an all-right piece of shit!
All right, so there's another clip. We're about to change cameras to when my brother started filming, and you'll notice something really, really interesting. They don't know who they're yelling at. In this next clip you're about to see, a man starts yelling at some random press photographer. Check it out.
Go home, 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 go home.
These are the front lines. When we say go home, and you understand that, and your little reptile brain, that you think this is your home, understand that these are the people making sure that you have no place in our future.
All right, so you may have just noticed this guy here on the left with the press badge just pointed to himself in confusion. These people, they don't know who they're yelling at. Someone in the crowd yelled that there was an alt-right person there and that don't let him film you, and they don't know who he's talking about, but there is some kind of mass hysteria where they just go with it.
You have no place in society. Get the fuck out of here. Get him the fuck out of here.
Why are you guys happy about that?
You understand?
What am I supposed to do?
I don't know. I have no idea. I guess he did something.
He's affiliated with the Proud Boys. I'm like a Western chauvinist organization.
How do you know? No, I'm admitting that I'm going to stand up.
He admitted to it.
Which one is it?
I'm a journalist.
Which one is it? I don't give a fuck if you're a journalist because you're fucking biased. You're not a real journalist. I was a journalist. I was a fucking journalist.
Hey, where's Cernovich?
You're allowed to say whatever you want, and I'm gonna film and I'm gonna do my thing.
It's fascist thuggery.
Why don't you guys just ignore me?
It's not free speech, it's fascist thuggery.
Why are you pointing cameras at me?
Free speech, it's fascist thuggery. It's not free speech, it's fascist thuggery.
Here's who I am.
It's not free speech, it's fascist thuggery. It's not free speech, it's fascist thuggery.
Do it.
I don't think we need to prove why you're a piece of shit. It's obvious that you're a piece of shit.
Do it. Show me where I've supported Cernovich. Hey, you're touching me.
What's his Twitter feed? What's his Twitter feed?
If you support white supremacy, you support white supremacy. Supporting other movements or giving credence to other movements does not give you
Let me ask you a real question.
We're going to try and de-escalate the situation and get him out of here. So if possible, we are going to stop yelling at the top so that keeps going. Is that okay? Could you disseminate to your comments too? Thank you.
Yeah, galvanized white supremacists over the last 3 years.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
You do.
A Soviet? I've never tweeted at or about Soviet in my life.
You support fucking
Bullshit.
Cernovich.
Bullshit. My tweets are so fucking boring. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I do though.
I followed Cernovich before you fucking knew anything about him. He's
I
a
have
scumbag.
tweets talking about cooking recipes, bro.
That's cool. That's great. But
My
you
shit-
also
Go on my
support
Twitter.
Mike Cernovich.
Well, prove it.
I just fucking looked at your shit. Dude,
You
I've
don't
been
have
following you
anything on
before
there.
you blew up.
You don't have anything on there. That's not true.
No, it is true.
One dude makes something up and you all just roll with it.
No. I don't care about people making it up.
No, I'm not.
No, he's a fascist and
That's
like
bullshit.
I'm not talking to him.
This is all right. I don't understand why they're all filming me.
You guys are having a discussion. Do you want to take it outside?
I know who he is. I know who Cernovich is.
Okay, in that case,
All right. So right now, I'm in the corner of a public entrance building because some guy here in the crowd started screaming that I was a fascist, and a bunch of people clearly didn't know who I was, just started chanting as well. One guy actually just came up to me, and when he Google searched me and looked up the Wikipedia page, saw that there was no affiliation with anything political, and actually saw the credits for Vice and Fusion, and then shrugged and actually just walked off. What? We saw.
You're literally a liar. Don't film me.
That's actually what just happened.
No permission to film me.
I don't need permission.
I don't care.
I can film whoever I want.
I know the law.
Right.
I'm letting you know explicitly.
You're filming me.
You do not have permission to film me.
You don't have permission to film me.
Okay.
All right.
I don't care. This motherfucker wants me and my family and people who I love to get hurt. I have evidence because he's done it in the past. You can look through his Twitter. Look through his fucking Twitter. Sign up for our organization. He's a public figure.
Well, this is American politics, I guess. This is the on-the-ground stuff, the opposition to people like Mike Cernovich. If you saw the footage, you can see that they're clearly making things up. They were saying things like, I was a Proud Boy. Not true. Not a Proud Boy. Never have been, never will be. Claiming things that like I'm friends with like Nazis or something. Not true. Never will be. Let's go this way. Yo. So it is what it is. And it was really dumb, I guess. But we're going to get out of here. So if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter @TimCast. Instead of doing the news story today, I guess they just all wanted to shove their cameras in my face and make me a story for whatever reason. All right, I'm going to stop right here. I was actually going to end the video just right now, but I actually got a chance to get a statement from Cernovich about some of the accusations made against him. So I hate the fact that this video was about them kind of attacking me, but I do want to make sure that I have some journalism in this piece. So following this, I went to the after-party event where Cernovich was and got a statement from him about what Antifa had said and allowed him to comment on the protest. All right, so this is after Mike Cernovich here gave his speech at Columbia, and there were a lot of protests outside. And there's a couple questions I have for you based on what the protesters have said that I want to give you a chance to respond to. Hopefully it's not too noisy outside. One of the things they said in great detail was that you publicly support Dylan Roof following the actions. Yes, you look shocked. I kind of didn't believe that it was true, but obviously it's for you to comment on. Someone speaking at the protest, he said he was going to give a series of facts. He went on in great detail about what Dylan Roof did in the church, and then went on to say that you supported him publicly on Twitter.
Wow, well, that was a perplexed look that you saw earlier, because I've always been the guy who's against all political violence and disavowing it all. And I've even said publicly Dylan Roof deserves the death penalty, and simple as that, he's a terrorist. So even when they try to go, oh, I bet you won't say Dylan Roof is a terrorist, you call these other people terrorists, you call it Islamic terrorism, I go, no, what Dylan Roof did was political terrorism, because he was using murder as a means to try to further his ideology. So there's a lot of things that people can call me out for, and I'm sympathetic to some of the arguments, even though I think they don't really understand what I was doing at the time with satire and everything. Those things I'm all right with, but that's just an outright fabrication, and there's not even anything that I said that you could infer really meant some kind of secret support for domestic terrorist Dylan Roof.
So you think that was a straight up fabrication?
Oh yeah, that's an outright fabrication.
They also mentioned that you supported the man in Charlottesville. They said that after he killed somebody in Charlottesville, you had supported them and pushed their movement and things like that.
It's amazing. There are good talking points to make about me, and there are legitimate means to criticize me. I actually said that rally was stupid and that nobody should go, and that was before, again, there was an act of domestic terrorism. I called it an act of domestic terrorism right as it happened. So not only did I not support it, but I didn't even try to play word games. I just said it was an act of domestic terrorism, and it's horrific, and again, I hope it gets the death penalty.
Did anything happen inside your speech? I didn't get to go inside. I was outside.
Right, like a lot of people, you couldn't get in because Antifa was busy keeping out people who wanted to watch the speech and were lying about me. The protesters were all right. They had their signs that said F-U-C-K white supremacy and you're a Nazi or you're whatever, and they from time to time would shout a little bit, but only for a second. I was actually cool with it. So it was a little, they wanted it to be heard, and I was okay with that.
Were there any issues with getting in, getting out? You were able to...
I couldn't get out. So we had to go into a secret sort of underground tunnel, and then as we're about to leave, the protesters find out where we're leaving, and they're like, "Come out, Mike." They were on their bullhorn, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll say hi to them," and the security people were like, not a shot. They got a couple police people on either side, and then we walked through and got into the car and rolled out.
So now just I'm going to ask some basic questions here for you, Mike. They call you a white supremacist. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, my answer is always that I encourage people to find where I've ever said anything endorsing white supremacy. I don't like to bring the whole I got a Persian wife and I have a half Persian daughter kind of thing, because it's kind of lame, and I don't like to bring them into it. But mainly, I've never endorsed white supremacy or even like the white nationalist kind of movement. So they'll say you're white nationalist. I'll go, where did I ever say that I want a whites only nation? That you can't actually find it. But I have said I happen to like white people. I don't particularly have a problem with white people, which today I think means you are a white supremacist.
On your Wikipedia, for instance, and on many news outlets, they call you alt-right. They say that you support, these white nationalist movements. On Wikipedia, to give them some credit, they do then go on to say that you denounce that. But, how do you respond to these news outlets saying, regardless of what you state, regardless of what your opinions are, you are, a white nationalist. You do support them.
Well, sure. Before the whole Nazi salute thing, Hailgate as people call it, I just thought, hey, alt-right, it means alternative to boring conservatism. Sure, I'm alt-right. Sure thing, cool thing. And then it became something completely different. So for well over a year, I've said, look, call me what you will, but I'm not alt-right. I'm not with those guys. And journalists are either lazy or they don't care, and then that ends up in your Wikipedia entry. But the truth is that, and this is what I actually told one of the people who was very critical of me, she goes, I really hate you. And I go, thank you. And she was like, well, wait a minute. I go, I'm not here to tell you not to hate me. You have a right to your own feelings about me, even though the label's inaccurate.
Any final thoughts on the speech today and what happened with the protesters?
Yeah, the speech was a lot of fun. I hope the protesters, I love protests, as long as they're not violent, as long as people aren't punching each other, stealing cell phones, pepper spraying each other. But if protesting is free speech. Now that doesn't mean you rush in and you do a heckler's veto and you shut everybody down, but I'm very glad hundreds of protesters showed up, and the protesters who attended my speech, they were a little snarky from time to time, but I'm actually quite cool with what they did and sympathetic even.
Right on, man. Thanks for answering some questions.
My pleasure.
Have a good one. So this is a little bit different to how I normally like to edit my videos. Things got a bit crazy, went off the rails, as you can see. Antifa mobbed me. A few things I just want to point out. One, I did literally nothing to provoke these people. I didn't go up to them. I didn't talk to them. I didn't film them. I didn't get in their faces. You can actually see while I was interviewing those young college students, some other black-masked Antifa, black bloc person starts filming them as well, cuts into our interview, and then tries blocking my camera. So I'm not engaging with these people. I just go there, I film, and I'm polite. I say, please, thank you, you're welcome, etc. And one person who doesn't like me, who is clearly wrong about who I was, calling me alt-right, etc., got the whole group to try and just harass me. But as you can see, as I stated, they didn't know who I was. We had them looking around in confusion. We had one guy actually yelling at the wrong person, and after a short amount of time, they eventually just gave up. So normally, my videos, I like to do music, a little bit of editing, and make it more substantive than just a series of clips, but this is kind of what happened because things, they went off the rail. So normally I plan and I'll take some B-roll shots so that I can do transitions, and it didn't happen. I'm glad, however, that I was still able to get some journalism in by talking to Cernovich and getting a statement from him about what the protesters had said, because ultimately that's what I prefer to do, go down, film the event, see what the protesters say, and then get a comment from Cernovich, because that's what reporting and journalism is. But I also think it's really important to show what happened with me and how these people made up lies about me. They accused me of being a Proud Boy. Then they started playing this weird game of telephone where they all said that I was like an admitted Proud Boy. And at that point, it doesn't even matter that I could say I'm not, because as soon as one person yells fascist, the entire group will just turn on you. And there was one incident where a man did look up my information, and when he didn't see anything, tried talking to one of the protesters, and the protester just told him, no, he's lying, don't believe him. And then he goes, okay, I won't. So, even after looking me up on Google searching me and reading that I have literally no affiliation to any of these political factions or anything, someone told him it wasn't true, and he believed it. They apparently that I was manipulating Wikipedia or something like that. So it's absolutely insane to hear them, one saying that Mike Cernovich supported Dylan Roof, which is, I mean, just outright fabrication. Even to say that something he said could have been construed in that way is strange. But that's why I'm glad I was able to get the statement from him. They made up a bunch of lies about me, and it is what it is. I needless to say, I'm not entirely shocked, but there you go. If you've made it this far, wow. Thank you so much for watching, because I think we're at like 25 minutes, and that's crazy. If you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at Timcast. Support my work. I've got breaking news and live streams from around the world. You can donate by going to timcast.com/donate to give whatever you'd like, if nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. Stay tuned. New videos tomorrow. And look, these people, they're not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. I stayed there. They eventually gave up and walked away. And that was the right thing to do. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to keep doing what I have to do, regardless of who tries to harass or intimidate me. It's clearly not going to work. I'll see you tomorrow.